We're at 10 a.m. right now, and we are going to talk with Ed Naylor over at Movement. I think he's backstage. There we go. Ed, how are you doing today?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. You ready for fun, action-packed 25 minutes?
All right, sounds great. So, my name is Edward Naylor. I'm CEO of Movement. We are a TMS for freight brokers doing mostly truckload and LTL. And we also are a CRM that's built directly into your TMS. So, I'm very excited to share a lot of the stuff we've been working on today and hopefully get some feedback from the audience here.
Perfect,
So,
perfect.
I'll share my
So,
screen.
okay,
Let me know if you can see it.
right
Okay,
in
there
there.
we go. So this is our homepage, MVMNT. It's like movement without the vowels, and movement.io is our domain. If you want to check it out, we've got a lot of information here, resources. You can actually check out our landing page for the Broker Carrier Summit and schedule a meeting with us. Since we only have 25 minutes, I'll jump straight into our demo here. So this is our TMS. You can see we're on the settings page. So what I wanted to mainly walk through today was some of the CRM features that are differentiating between a lot of TMSs that don't have a CRM built in, and then also just run through basic kind of load building, load lifecycle, some of the automation and integrations we work with. So I'll start with just going over the settings. We really emphasized building out a cloud-based, real-time, modern system that integrates with all your favorite tools in freight tech in a two-way and real-time manner. So, for example, DAT, we pull in the ability to post loads to DAT, but also we have their rate view and IQ products inside, which I'll show you in a minute. Similar with Truckstop, we have the load board posting like a normal TMS, and we also have the ability to see their rates. For track and trace, we've got both Trucker Tools and MacroPoint. These will automatically advance check calls for you, so you're not having to do that work manually. We've got My Carrier Portal, RMIS, and Highway. These are all carrier monitoring services that make it a lot easier to onboard and maintain your data with your carriers you're working with. And these are all two-way synced. So like I said, with all of these integrations, you can do something on the partner platform, or you can do something in Movement, and it'll sync both ways in real time. So the main goal is not to have to switch tabs.
Yes.
QuickBooks Online, this is our one accounting integration that is pretty deep. We do some fancy things with it, like being able to batch pay from Movement. Again, if you do something in QuickBooks because you're comfortable with that, it'll port over to Movement. We also let you batch pay carrier factors, and that gets split up in QuickBooks into each carrier as a vendor. So I can go into more detail once we get to the load invoicing part of the demo here. And then the last couple categories of integrations, we've got capacity tools. So this is going to be MacroPoint, Truckstop, and Trucker Tools. We are adding new ones. There actually is also a DAT search load board, search trucks API that we integrate with. But these are very useful for obviously searching for capacity instead of if posting necessarily to a load board. And then lastly, we have factoring integrations right now with just Denim and Haul Pay if you do factor. So with that overview, I think a good place to start is carriers. So we've got My Carriers and Search Carriers. So we actually have our own integration through carrier details with the FMCSA data. So I mentioned those three monitoring tools. Even if you don't use any of those, you still have access to all active MCs that you can easily just search in the system here. You can sort, you can filter all of these tables, drag and drop columns. Think of Google spreadsheets, on the cloud.
Yep.
I can also download any of these tables. So if I go to a company that has no status with me, that means I haven't onboarded them into my brokerage, but you can see their FMCSA is active because of their authority and insurance and everything else. So now I can see the MCP data. If I'm connected to this, I can see RMIS. Risk Factors is another Truckstop product we have, and Highway. So these are all nice if usually you just use one, But if I want to onboard the carrier from my side here in my TMS, I can invite them and they'll be automatically invited through whatever method that these guys have to, send over the carrier packet and kick off the monitoring. But if I want to do it on those systems, I still can, and it'll show up in my system here. So this basically lets you get them into this My Carrier tab, which is then your network of carriers. And then after you invite them, and even before, all this information is always staying up to date in real time. So when you go to book a carrier, you're not worried that, hey, something's changed with their insurance or their authority. You're always seeing that at the time of booking. And then just to show you the information that we get straight from FMCSA, even without some of those integrations, you can see we've got all of this contact and insurance compliance, your basic stuff here. So I'll go ahead and onboard this carrier so you can see what that looks like. So if I don't have an integration, I can send a carrier agreement myself. We have an e-sign tool that lets carriers sign documents that you send out via a link. And this is going to be similar to like a DocuSign. We also do that for rate confirmations and future other cases that require signatures. I'm able to add a payment method or even a factoring company. So if multiple carriers all use this one factoring company, I can just add this in here, RLS, for example. All the compliance information we went over. If you use one of those integrations like these, what we have here, all the documents get synced as well, contacts as well. So very helpful not to have to maintain all that information yourself. And then the load history. So over time, if you start booking this carrier, it will get loads shown in here that they've run. The pending status, we have a couple here. Once they sign the agreement or get onboarded through one of the integrations, that will change to active or review based on whatever the review tier you set, the rules assessment in each of your integrations. And then you can also do inactive or do not use. So that's carriers. Let's now go to spot quoting. So this is one of the CRM kind of differentiators that we have in addition to just being a full-on TMS. So I can set up inboxes, we call them AI email inboxes, at my brokerage at quote.movement.io. We also have one for tenders, and then we also have one for carrier invoices. So with all of these inboxes, the counterparty, either customer or carrier, will email you in, or you can create forwarding rules in your inbox, invoices, tenders, quotes. We use a combination of AI, a lot of smart logic that we've developed, plus Google Maps APIs and other APIs to turn all of these things into actual structured data. So it's getting you out of your inbox tab and instead automatically parsing that into your TMS. So we'll start with quotes. If you go to this rates screen here and I sort by last email, I can get an email from a customer, which is going to be their rate request list for the week, let's say. So in this instance, they have, about 11 here. These got automatically parsed out into rates in my TMS with all the structured data. It's validated addresses. So if you look here, we've got latitude, longitude. Usually it also can get time zone, but it's getting all of that just because in this case, I had actually run this lane before. And so it matched to this same name and pulled the address. But if it was a new one, it would automatically create it and use Google Maps to search, the Home Depot in this town. It would pull out that address for you. And then that's going to be similar on things like equipment types, any special requirements. Is it high value? Is it require a certain cargo insurance? All of that stuff can get picked out from whatever they send. This supports PDF attachments, image attachments, Excel sheets, stuff in the body and the subject. So sort of a big black box that takes in unstructured data, turns it into structured data. And then the benefit is with some of those integrations that I mentioned, you pull in rates for each lane here. So I can just select one of these and, I can select a couple, decide I want to quote these two, let's say, draft a reply. And then you can see it's pulling in my email signature that we put in a user setting. So every user can either connect to their Gmail or their Outlook, which we have integrations with, or they can also just copy and paste their signature in here. And then they'll be able to send emails out of the platform to the customer in this case. the customer will see this, and then they'll also get a quote that they can accept. Now, I can personalize this and add anything else I want to, but in this case, I can just send it. This link will take the customer to a one-time use link that lets them accept and check. Maybe they just want to do one of these and not the other. That will advance the status into, I'll show you here, our next part, which is quoted. So typically it goes from requested when you get the email from the customer to quoted. And then when they either click the link, it will go to won or lost. Or if they just reply on the thread, you'll get those responses as well. And it'll sort it based on the sentiment into one of these received reply or counter. So let's take a look also at another way to send quotes. Maybe you didn't get it via email, but maybe you just want to standalone look up a common lane that you do. So we saw that we have rates from the integration partners, but we also can pull rates from your own data. And this is what's super valuable. We have a 5 business day turnaround time on data migrations. We've developed a really cool pipeline internally that lets us do those really quickly, where you can just upload any spreadsheets with any format from an existing system that has your load history in it, your customers, carriers. That will then be imported, 5 business day turnaround, and that lets you see your lane history even when you're just getting started. Once you have your lane history, which will also just get built up over time as you use the platform, you can see that I'm actually getting insights because I have, my data as opposed to just the data from the market here. I can plot both of them against each other, and I can also track, here's my 30 days average for this customer. Here's the last time I quoted this. I can see last paid carrier rates, all sort of insights that come from my data that I can also break down by the different levels here. So if I want to quote one of these, I just click on the rate. Okay, I'm going to choose a customer. And then I'll send it to myself in this case. And again, it's just going to draft a nice quote that I can customize. It's got the basic info. This is going to be my brokerage name. All this is editable, but the main point is that, again, they get a link that takes them directly to an accept page that they can then turn this into a load. So I'll show you, if I just send this to myself here, what that will turn into on the quotes tab. So we've got that quote created. If I now add a created at column here for what the most recent thing was, here's my quoted. So it jumped that requested status, went straight into quoted. Here's my email out to the customer, and I can, continue to reply. It's just a normal email thread, but it lives in your TMS. And that's the benefit of syncing a Gmail or Outlook integration as well, is it's able to pick up individual emails from your reps in your workspace, as opposed to the group inboxes also work great. The ABC brokerage at quote.movement.io, but it's also nice to get assignments based on who exactly is receiving the email rather than based on account owner, which is the default, based on who the shipper is. And if it's a new shipper that's just emailing you out of the blue, like a lead, then we'll actually create them on the fly for you as a lead. And that's get into some of our CRM features that now you can track until they actually do become a customer and book a load. You can say, hey, they've been, qualified, they're quoted, they're, cold, all that status can be tracked here. So this is a already quoted one. So instead of waiting on them to accept, maybe I got another confirmation. So I'm going to go ahead and convert to shipment. So mark the quote as 1 and convert to shipment here. And this is going to take us to our shipment tab. So that's really the whole spot quoting flow. Now let's get into load lifecycle. So if I start with, this is my draft page, I actually skipped some steps because I already had all that data from the quote, which is great. But let's say I want to start fresh just so you can see it. This is the main load board, which has your basic, we call them views up here for different statuses like open, booked, dispatched, loading, in transit, unloading, and delivered. And that's going to be your main shipment lifecycle. So let's start by creating it for a new customer. I'll show you one quick thing, which is that if I have a customer, I can put in credit limits for them to protect my cash flow. So I can say, hey, this has a $7,000 credit limit. It's a warning above 80% usage and they're at 98%. So it's going to warn them. Now I can actually just open the customer. You see that they're also synced with QuickBooks here. And let's just change that credit limit to 6,000 here. Now, if I try and create a load for them, not only it warns, but it blocks me because now they're over their limit.
Mm-hmm.
So let's create a brand new load. I can also duplicate existing ones, but just to show you the speed here. Here are the modes we support at the moment. We're actually doing a lot of big launches with partners. One is going to be green screens, which will go into that rate tab that you saw with DAT and Truckstop. So that's coming probably end of May. And then another integration we're very excited about that's coming up in the next few weeks is with SMC3. And what they do is provide LTL quoting APIs. So when you choose LTL here, it will actually let you, within the same flow, the same load board, it's not a separate module, it'll let you get quotes from all the common carriers. You just put in your username and password with, say, Estes Trucking, and then put it in Movement. You'll get a quote from them, and then you can choose which ones for each load you want to dispatch and then track and trace. So that full LTL experience is coming soon. Let's run through a full truckload example just to keep it simple here.
Sure.
So we've got reference values. We're going to say van 53, a couple basic requirements. And then we get to the stops. So stops is nice because we have a full autocomplete like you saw. So time zone, longitude, latitude. So we support US, Canada, Mexico at the moment. So we're going to do that pickup, and then let's find an existing location that we can use. We use PC Miler for auto-calculating the mileage there. This vendor concept is really nice because it allows you to have multiple payables into your cost of goods on one load without switching or hacking it and creating duplicate loads. So if I have, for example, like a lumper fee, I can just add that on my cost of goods against the one customer invoice. So we'll add that cargo here. You can break it down for LTL, especially this is vital for accurate quoting. Then we're going to charge our customer right here. I can choose spot or contract. So a lot of this, like the rate would already be filled in if you had started from that quoting experience, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll submit the order. So we start in an open status. Now I'm just going to go ahead and book the carrier, but you optionally could post the load to DAT, Truckstop, Load Board Network. You can also check out some of our basic tabs here. So the navigation summary is your main page with your stops. If you need to add a stop, you can do so. If you need to change any of the pickup information, add things like location contacts, add operating hours, special requirements on the facility. And then I can also source carriers. Now that's mainly going to be on a different screen at the moment, but we are planning to add another whole sourcing tab here pretty soon that will let you search for carriers onto the load board. So instead of posting, you're using those capacity integrations I talked about right in this one screen on the open status. So let's go ahead and book one. So you can see this is where the carrier information pops up and it's real-time synced. So this one was integrated with the Truckstop risk factors. Let's find one that was integrated with my carrier portal. So you can see this would, for example, be the status in real time that they're being synced with. And we have ones from Highway as well. So whatever integration you use, it'll all show up here. So let's use this one. I'm going to charge them. This is where tracking can also be enabled. So you would typically only have one, obviously, but in this test environment, we've got Trucker Tools and MacroPoint. So I'm going to say do not track for right now. Go ahead and book. And now it's going to let you send and generate a rate con. So RateCon pending here. Now I'll just show you that again. What this will do is automatically pre-fill the corresponding dispatch contact that comes in a lot of times from those integrations, or you just add them yourself. I can send this to me in this case. The carrier then gets a link that they can click that will take them to a e-sign page to sign the RateCon. So not sure if that's going to work right now, but I can show in a second. So that's once the carrier signs it, they'll be able to put in the driver info, and they can also add any other documents that you may require at that point. So once they've signed it, now you can dispatch. So this is going to be your first check call. You can put in dispatch time. It's going to tell you that the status will advance from booked to dispatched. Put in truck and trailer number. If I actually do want to track this, now it'll kick off tracking at this point. So you're not having to go into these trucker tool or macro point to enable this. It'll just start it as soon as you put in, driver cell phone, or it could be an app-based tracking, or it could be ELD, and you put in the right truck number and it tracks with that. So let's dispatch. And now it really is just about tracking. So we have a next check call scheduled that is default every 2 hours. And this reminds on the board, you can have views that set up to say, show me where next check call is overdue, for instance. So these are some next check calls, and I can get reminders on that. Just to show you all the columns we have here, because we have quite a bit on the shipment board. So we have all the stuff you would expect: pickup, delivery. Here's the AP status, and this is what I was mentioning about having multiple, potentially on one load, multiple payables. Pickup, your drop. Here are the users. So we have a pretty robust user and permission model where we're able to limit views by customer rep or by carrier rep, so they're only seeing what they're supposed to see. And then you also have admin views that can see more. So let's go back into the load. I can go to my recent history, and I can go ahead and let's say I need to actually report a TONU. So in our case, it's actually very simple to do this, and you're not really having to hack anything or duplicate a new load. It's just going to let you go back to open status, and now I have this carrier in my history here. And if I go to my financials, now they're a truck order not used, and I can go ahead and add that as the charge code for 150, and then I'll delete the line haul and save that. But now I can go and book a new carrier, and I'll book this carrier here, and then it just starts over. So you can bounce as well if you need to remove them, but don't want to actually issue a invoice or receive an invoice from them. So now I'm just going to dispatch, but you can see that it's nice to have multiple carriers, no fuss, just TONUs handled as a normal part of the system. So now I'm in the tracking phase. If I was using a Trucker Tools or Macro Point, these check calls would actually be happening automatically for me. But in my case, they're just going to be done with a manual check call that I'm going to put in the dates for. And as I do this for each one, it's going to set the in time of the stop. So now it's from dispatch to loading at the pickup. Now it's going to say in transit is the next action item. And each one of these is also setting up a next check call reminder for me. So there's my out time. Now it's in transit. Last stop we're going to do here. So it's now in at the delivery, and then finally delivered status. And then the last thing as an operations that I need to do is I want to click on the ready to invoice. So that's going to be marketing as delivered, and then it's going to say ready to invoice, and that basically hands it over to the accounting team, and now they can go in and generate an invoice after they upload the POD. So I've got 3 payables on here that you can see, my TONU, my line haul, and then my lumper. And this is all against this one invoice. Again, I can generate an invoice just like the other tools, send it out to the customer. They'll be able to then receive payment. So all this is synced with QuickBooks. As soon as I generated an invoice, it created the link in QuickBooks. I can receive a bulk payment, apply it to all the different invoices here. And that's sort of the life cycle of the customer. I think I'll end there. We're reaching pretty close to the end, but the last thing I'll say is, we do have a free tier that everything you saw today is actually included. You just are limited to 15 shipments per month. So it's great to invite your team, get feedback, start testing, connect your integrations. All of that is free. We'll even do the data migration for you. And once you're ready, then you can get unlimited loads per month once you upgrade.
I like the trial. I like the trial piece of it, to invite users to come in and test everything out.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to not sort of commit before you understand the software, because this is obviously running your business on this software. It's a big commitment. So we want to make sure you're comfortable.
It is a big commitment. Are you going to be joining us out at Indy next week, or
Yes,
somebody
the
from your
movement
team?
will be there. We'll be over in the learning lab, or the I forget the name of the workstations. So we'll be over at the workstations.
Perfect. Well, look forward to just seeing you out there. Where are you based out of, Ed?
So we're originally a Chicago company. We have some people in Chicago. I'm myself in Dallas.
Okay, perfect. I am too. Over
Nice.
here in Dallas myself, and what got you into the logistics world and TMS in particular?
Yeah. So I come from more of a pure tech background, computer science, computer engineering, and I actually got into logistics tech in customs brokerage. I had a customs brokerage startup that was sort of like a TurboTax for importers, and ended up selling that company to Amazon. Worked at Amazon for a few years and decided to get back into the smaller and, in my opinion, more fun world of tech startups.
Oh, cool. And we have a couple minutes here. Outcome story. Did you have a good outcome story about a brokerage using movement?
Yeah. So one thing we have that we do nicely is cross-border, where you have a Mexico side carrier and a US side carrier. So we've seen a lot of success with Laredo cross-dock, transfer type situations, where instead of having to build out two different loads or sort of hack your system, multiple invoices, it's all supported on one shipment, we call it. So we have it's called an order shipment load model. You have the shipment as sort of the shell. You can have multiple carriers or payables on that one order. So even if it's not a Tonu, like I showed, it would be a Mexico side, a US side. You could just post the US side to DAT, and that lets you automate a lot of the work that you were having to do with tracking and managing that in your TMS. So that is a recent success story that people are very happy with. And I think just in general, the biggest success stories are integrations. We want to be the central data hub that ties everything together and do a really good job with that. But we're not trying to take over these, responsibilities that all these other really nice tools in the freight tech space do really well. We just want to have those brought in real time and show all the data in one place, so that you really don't have to switch tabs and you're just in a central data hub.
No, understood. And I used to do a lot of Mexico loads whenever I was brokering freight, and it can be, especially in the TMS, it can be tricky with both sides. And then you have the drayage company, or the take it from if you're cross docking or transloading, then you have that third piece in there, the drayage company that takes over the bridge to the Mexican trucking company's yard. So it can be tricky, and if your TMS isn't set up right, um, then it could be a lot of headaches, certainly.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Ed, for your time today, and we will see you in Indianapolis next week. Can't wait, and we'll catch up then.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be there next week.
Same here. Same here. Thanks, Ed.
All
See
right.
you soon.
Take it easy.